Want to know what you'll look like as an old dude? Just wait until you have a toddler in the house and then catch yourself in the mirror unexpectedly. Or you could download the latest craze, which is called FaceApp. Everybody's doing it. Everybody is seeing what their face will look like in the future. And here's what I did earlier. You see, this is the before picture with nothing done to me. You can youthen yourself. I'm going to just coin that as a phrase. You can youngify yourself and make yourself look like this, or you can age yourself and shriek, run away into the sea forever, never to return. This is my future. And, you know, as I look at this photograph, as I look at my future, I realize that the world really is a horror story. You know, the whole premise of every horror story ever is the doors are locked and nobody gets out of here alive. That is planet Earth. The doors are locked, no one gets out of here alive. And actually, the aging process wakes you up to the fact that you are mortal, you are flesh, you are perishing, and one day you'll be gone. So what's interesting is that this has become a craze. In a culture that is in the grip of the cult of youth, all of a sudden we want to age ourselves and share it on Instagram. Usually you retake the selfie 3,000 times and find the one picture that doesn't make you look like E.T. sucking chili off a thistle or something like that. Suddenly we are all sharing our worst sides, or at least our aged sides. And it really goes to the heart of our love-hate relationship with our faces, with our looks. You and I, we all have love-hate relationships with our faces. In one sense, we love them, right? And if you don't think you love your face, well, next time you get tagged in Facebook in that group photograph and you think, oh yeah, that must have been the photograph that was taken on holiday 3 weeks ago. Oh, that's got all the people I love the most in the world. And so you go to the page and you look at the photograph. But for whose face are you looking? If you're anything like me, your eyes fix on your own smug little visage. And then, this is the other side of things, then you have the temerity to say that this is not a very good photograph of you because it doesn't make you look like the spitting image of Brad Pitt, right? We have this love-hate relationship with the photo. And we look at the photo and we think, oh, I'm ugly. I can't believe I look like this. And, you know, my wife, who has an admirable zeal for the truth, she will show me those photographs and she will bury my face in those photos. She will say, Glenn, do you see that? Do you see the way you look in that photo? That's how you look all the time. And at that point, you are tempted to say, I hate myself, I'm ugly, which of course is a lie. You don't hate yourself. You actually love yourself so much you think you deserve to look better than you do. But the FaceApp is doing exactly that thing. It's tapping into our love-hate relationship with ourselves. We all want to share our own faces, our own selfies around the place. But this is actually waking us up to, here's our future. Now, just this afternoon, we filmed on a beach in Eastbourne, a whole bunch of teenagers looking at their own faces, and their responses were pretty funny. Ah. Look at that. I can see you. Yeah, there's Sophia, aged, 40, kind of taking kids to soccer practice, that sort of thing. So how would you feel looking like this when you're, let's say, 40?
I want to cool myself.
Really? No. That's extreme. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not me.
It is definitely going to be you.
Oh, oh.
This is.
Yes.
Do you think you could learn to love this face?
I don't know. Maybe.
Everyone else can. What does it make you think?
I'm really ugly when I'm old.
I don't think so. You look distinguished. Like, grey hair's not a bad thing. I've got plenty of it myself. Look at that.
Yeah.
I love that. Every single one of them swore. One of them even said, I want to kill myself because of how she looked. In an Instagram age where we retake the selfie 3,000 times just to get the right shots, then of course, to be confronted by our mortality and our frailty, to be confronted by the aging process, that is really going to take its toll on us. We really want to grip hold of our youthfulness. It's pretty much the thing we want to trade in these days. We've got such a cult of youth these days. If you don't believe me, then look at your Facebook feed. See everything that's being shared there. The only old people you're seeing on Facebook are those who have been aged by FaceApp. You don't normally see old people on Facebook unless they are doing what young people do. And so you scroll through Facebook and you see there's the 70-year-old who ran the marathon. And everyone in the comments is saying, oh, aren't old people great when they act like young people, right? It's the 70-year-old who runs the marathon, or the 80-year-olds who are into breakdancing, or the 90-year-olds who are into speed dating. Only when old people act like young idiots do we have any time for them. We used to prize their age and their wisdom and experience, and these days, no. Only if they ape the young do we care about them. We've got such a cult of youth. Why do we have a cult of youth? It's because we don't think the story ends very well. We don't want to get towards the end of the story, because when you turn over to that last page, there is death. My death, the death of the sun, the heat death of the universe. In a world which believes that we are just biological survival machines clinging to an insignificant rock, hurtling for a meaningless universe towards eternal extinction, don't tell me I'm going to get old. I'm going to get depressed. Of course I'll want to kill myself if the clock is simply ticking, and the only thing at the end of that clock ticking is the bomb goes off. But what if the Bible's true? What if Psalm 90 verse 12 is true? Moses there writes, "Help me to number my days aright, that I might get a heart of wisdom." You know, that says to me that the FaceApp can be helpful for my spiritual growth. As I learn to look at my aged face, can I learn to love what God is doing in my life and give thanks for what God is doing in my life? Can I get a heart of wisdom by understanding the passage of time? I want to number my days aright so that I can get a heart of wisdom. But then, is it merely that I just get gray hairs and age and experience and wisdom comes with that? Or is there something beyond that? And the Bible says beyond just the age and wisdom and experience that comes with age, there is the wonder of resurrection. As we age, we are closer each day to the fountain of youth. We are closer each day to the elixir of life. We are closer each day to that thing that people spend thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds on. You know, all that surgery that people do to try to make themselves look young. We're going to get it for free. We are going to have immortal youthfulness on the far side of the grave. We will have our youth renewed like the eagles. So that, you know, that picture of myself that is me aged 40, you know what? I can actually roll back the clock, not just roll forward the clock. I can look forward to an eternal youthfulness. And you know, that means I can age well. That means I can go along in this journey of aging, learning all the things that God has for me, not wanting to grasp after the sand of youthfulness that will just slip through my fingers, but that actually every day is taking me closer to youthfulness. Though outwardly we are wasting away, inwardly we are renewed day by day. This is the good news that we can proclaim to a culture that is just petrified of getting old, that just wants to cling on to not only youthfulness, but also immaturity. But here, with this story, a story that ends well, we can march into the future. We can learn to love our aging faces. We can learn to love the age that we are coming into. And we can learn to look forwards to an eternal youthfulness when Jesus renews our strength again. It's the 23rd of July. I'm Glen Scrivener, and you're watching Speak Life.
LIVEcast, welcome to the LIVEcast, welcome to the show. LIVEcast, welcome to the LIVEcast, welcome to the show.
Welcome everybody to the LIVEcast.
Welcome.
I am Glen Scrivener.
I'm Paul Feasy.
And we are here on a scorcher of a Tuesday afternoon.
Yes.
It might even reach 27 degrees here in Eastbourne, which for all our Australian viewers might not seem like a scorcher.
Bring a coat.
Bring a coat. But it is very muggy. It's very muggy. It's very, very humid here. So it's not the dry heat of Canberra that I'm used to.
No,
but,
very humid.
You've been doing some hard physical labour, Paul. What have you been doing?
Word. I've been down in the studio sanding the floor with a sander. So I've had earplugs in, I've had a mask on, I came out covered in sawdust.
Wow. And
so I was shaking it off me. So I feel filthy.
You look filthy.
I look filthy.
You smell
even worse.
Right.
So, yeah, that's why we're in 540p. That's why, just so people can't see.
We don't want 4K.
This atrocity.
I've actually smeared the lens with some Vaseline. We're talking about faces today and looking our best. But before we go on and talk about FaceApp, do you know the news? Have you heard Boris is our new exalted leader? That's the news, and the only thing we can think to do is to make fun of it. I don't know if you watched on BBC News, but sitting behind Boris during the announcement was his father, and it made me
Behind
think...
Hunt.
Well, yeah, and then when he got up to speak, sitting in the row behind Jeremy Hunt, there was Boris Johnson's dad. But it did make me think that this is probably Boris's future. Let's have a look at the picture. There, over Jeremy Hunt's left shoulder, is Boris Johnson in the future, but that's his dad, actually.
You got to feel, is that after he's been... That after Boris has been announced?
Yeah, Jeremy Hunt.
Jeremy Hunt's really holding that face, isn't he?
And they were told, so Boris and Jeremy were both told about 10 minutes before this big unveiling.
Right.
And so they both had to smile, but it was quite obvious
They're
that...
saying we're going to find out who the winner is. You're live on Channel 4.
Please no
Please
swearing,
don't
Boris.
swear.
Please don't swear, Boris. And he got up and he did his Boris thing. But anyway, so that's the news.
Kipper in hand or something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, somebody handed him something as a visual aid.
A minute before he went on.
And he ran with it. This is the future, people. This is the future of Boris Land. But we're not going to talk about Boris Land.
No.
In a minute, we're going to talk about FaceApp. Have you tried FaceApp?
Yes.
Yeah.
Upsettingly.
You were an early adopter, I'm sure.
Well, I used it. Well, because it's been around for ages, isn't it? And it
Yes.
seems to have had this weird resurgence. And I just
Yes.
assumed that everyone had done it years ago. And when people, I thought it was a new app that everyone was doing now, but it's the same one.
Yes.
But I don't know whether they've updated their technology.
I don't know. People can correct me, but I think it's the same app. But
I hope they've updated the technology because I've aged terribly in the last few
Roger
years.
Feezy's in.
Hey,
So here
Dad,
we
you right?
go. Speaking
I
of...
don't look like my dad in the photo, though.
No.
That's for sure.
I hope not. For your sake, Roger. What was I going to say? I have no idea.
I don't know.
No, I really don't know.
It would have been pure gold. Updated the algorithm.
I think what they did, FaceApp, because they had a whole bunch of features, including you can swap genders, which I can't see it on my version of the app now. And you could kind of swap races, and you could sort of
I remember that
darken
from a
your
long time
skin
ago.
and that sort of thing. And of course, that's a little bit transgressive. We don't want to go there. That's hashtag problematic. As is gender for some reason.
Whereas being old,
being old. Being old, I think, is the ultimate transgression. It's like that's the last thing
You're
anyone
not
wants
allowed
to
to be old.
That's absolutely true. Certainly not on social media. You're not allowed to be old.
That's funny, actually. I've seen a friend of mine, Philippa, if you're watching.
Yes.
Because we're talking, how quickly we become old. I saw on one of my Facebook memories.
Yes.
I was talking about children, a young person music in the youth group and how they berated me because they were saying they'd never heard of Led Zeppelin. It was grandpa music. And they didn't know who they were, but they insisted Cheryl Cole had sold more records than Led Zeppelin. But I saw Philippa had put in the comments, she was like, yes, exactly, Mr. Brightside is not old people music. The Killers, it's not old.
It's at least 10 years old now,
yeah,
isn't it?
Well, probably more than that, mate. I'm not even joking. But, quickly, people, you're going to Google it now. Very quickly, people think that something that's only a few years old is now very old. Everyone's going to find...
Ooh, 15 years old.
All right. Maybe
Wow.
it is old.
Wow.
This is your Howard's End thing, isn't it?
Middle-aged youth worker.
Yeah,
Yeah. I still, 15 years on, I still don't know what he's singing at the end. I'm convinced he's saying, Paella, Paella.
Wash your back. Wash
Yeah,
your back. All
yeah.
those Peter K's. Wash your back. I believe that the hot dogs go on and stuff.
Hello, Susie Bezinger. Bezinger? You'll have to correct me. Can you phonetically spell your surname? Susie says, hello from Manila. My mother was born in Manila in outback New South Wales, but I am guessing you mean the Philippines? You can let us know. So we've had hello from your dad, and we've had hello from Manila.
Hello from the other side.
Yeah.
As Adele said.
But before we get into FaceApp and the 10 things that we can learn from FaceApp, we've also got a brilliant conversation that I had with Robin Ham, who is a pastor and a writer and a cultural commentator. And we have a great back and forth about the meaning of FaceApp. But before we do that, we want to let you know why it was that we thrust Paul down into the basement to work in those unsafe conditions. And basically, it's part of the big refurbishment for the studio that we're about to have. And so in about a month's time, you'll notice some changes about the LIVEcast, we hope. And let's just show you a video and let you know all that we're doing to the building and all that we're hoping to do with the Speak Live Foundry.
This is our second skip that we've loaded up with stuff from the Speak Life Centre. We're making good progress moving out, and the builders start from the 1st of April. So the builders have been in for one day and they have completely demolished the place. I'm excited about this place already, it'll be brilliant. For a long while this was a Christian radio station here, and the builders are demolishing it. We're knocking down 4 or 5 internal walls to give us a really large space, and in that space we're going to build a film studio. A space that we can build a number of sets in, and a space that is useful for ourselves, other Christian organisations and schools and colleges here in Eastbourne.
Great, so please do go to speaklife.org.uk/foundry. Foundry is spelled Foundry.
Mm-hmm.
So
and you can donate there towards the Foundry project, and you can get a free ebook in the process. So, yeah.
Christ in all of Scripture.
Yeah. I just realised if you're listening on the podcast, that would have been a very uneventful video.
Well, it's quite a beat.
Apart from absolutely enjoy the royalty-free music.
Maybe you could clip it out. But anyway, so that's the Speak Life Foundry. We're so grateful to people who have given already. Around about £2,000 has been given already to that appeal. We want to raise 30,000 to fund the half of the 6 interns' kind of living expenses that we have pledged to fund. So thank you so much for those who have given, and speaklife.org.uk/foundry if you want to give towards that. But FaceApp, have we seen you do a FaceApp yet? Have we seen you age?
Well, you it was on the thumbnail for this, but people may not have seen.
Okay, well you age like a fine wine, Paul. I have to say.
Really?
Oh yeah. And if you're following on Facebook, please do send in your own FaceApp.
Yeah, we'd love to see
aged photos. But let's have a look at you, Paul.
Here we go. Here it is. Brace yourself, people.
Goodness me.
It's the receding hairline they've given me there. See, I don't think I'm going to recede because my father has a full head of hair. Both my grandparents had a full head of hair.
Is it about maternal grandfathers? Is that what you... I don't know.
I don't know. If it's about maternal, he still had a full head of hair. So,
okay, all right.
Yeah. So
right.
if I put my finger over the hair, there's something of the kind of... Is it Walter White? Breaking Bad. There's something about a bit of Breaking Bad going on there.
Yes, you weren't sounding
that or the serial killer.
It's just you weren't sounding the studio. That you were like taking part in your meth lab. You're building a meth lab.
Yeah.
There is. Definitely.
Yeah, don't come in.
There is some Breaking Bad to you. And what about me? Do you have like you age like a fine wine? I age like milk. Look at that. For those who can't see, imagine roadkill after about 3.5 weeks.
It's like when the witch has water thrown on her.
I'm melting. Yes, Terminator 2 thrashing. This is one of the incarnations that.
It's the hair though the hair that it seems so out of place with the rest of it. But
now let's when you look at old you, and when I look at old me, there is a part of me. Obviously, I looked like a Muppet that's melted in the heat. But when I look at the eye, because the eyes are the same, and everything else around the eyes is
still
just
the same Glen inside.
Exactly.
Still the same Glen I married.
For better, for worse, but not for that. But there's a sense in which you're looking at yourself, you're looking at your own eyes, and you're sort of saying, hello, old friend. You know, and you can sort of start to make peace.
Really?
With... No, you don't get that.
I'm thinking, kill it.
Get it off me. Well, let's think about...
I think the problem with the picture, when you see those things, is that there's no... Like, if you'd shown me a picture of me now, like when I was maybe like 12, and if you'd shown a picture of me, like 33-year-old me to 12-year-old me,
yes,
I probably would have gone, whoa!
Yes.
You know, and been like, I look so old.
Yes.
But if I was going to say, if I just gradually come up to it, which I have,
yes.
I have gradually come up to it.
As is the way.
Often the way. I'm pretty much at peace with it.
Yes.
You know?
I think we saw that. So yesterday we went onto the beach and we talked to teenagers about it. And to a man and woman, they wanted to kill themselves when they watched it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that the middle age appreciation of FaceApp is like, oh yes, I've seen this coming for a while.
Yeah, it's the end of a process we can see beginning. And
yeah. Whereas for a 16-year-old. It was very interesting. We went up to a couple of girls on the beach who clearly had been posing some Instagram shots and clearly wanting to get their best side, get their best features, put their best front foot forward. And then we asked them, can you do the FaceApp challenge? And their responses were very interesting. So should we have a look at how teenagers have been responding to the FaceApp? Ah. Look at that. I can see you. Yeah, there's Sophia, aged 40, kind of taking kids to soccer practice, that sort of thing. So, how would you feel looking like this when you're, let's say, 40?
I want to kill myself.
Really? That's extreme. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not me.
It is definitely going to be you.
Oh, oh,
This is.
yes.
Do you think you could learn to love this face?
I don't know. Maybe.
Everyone else can. What does it make you think?
I'm really ugly when I'm old.
I don't think so. You look distinguished. Like, grey hair's not a bad thing. I've got plenty of it myself. Look at that.
Yeah.
I love that. He was not sure. Christoph was not sure.
No. But he took it quite well.
He did.
Compared to the other two.
Because he said, I look rich there. And he
yes,
did,
he was happy. He said, I look like a rich man.
Yeah. Because I think it's the polo shirt.
Yeah. On a yacht somewhere.
Totally looks like that. Good old Christoph. If you want to see that, we're putting the link into the comments for that video. So we dropped that one last night on YouTube. And I just found it fascinating talking to 4 different people and getting their reactions. And I think very much the teenage reaction was different to the middle age reaction. The teenage reaction was just shock and horror, because I think they've got something to trade in. They have the currency that this world trades in right now.
Yeah.
And who are they when you strip that away from them? I think it's a
You're nothing.
Yeah, right.
Nothing, young people.
That's it, right. Unless you're young, you're nothing. Anyway, come back again next week for another episode. So last night I chatted with Robin Ham, who, as I said before, is a blogger. He's a pastor. He's an author. And we got to speaking about FaceApp because he wrote a terrific article on thathappycertainty.com, which we're going to have a little talk about. So why don't we have a look at what Robin and I talked about when we talked about FaceApp, and then we'll have a discussion about that. So I am with Robin Ham, a writer, pastor, and cultural critic. Should we call you that? I don't know. How would you describe yourself?
I probably wouldn't describe myself as that. Pastor, I get definitely.
Pastor, guy with a blog. Yeah.
Guy with a blog.
Yeah. So That Happy Certainty is a great blog. Tell me why you've called it That Happy Certainty.
Yeah, so that's based on a Martin Luther quote from Galatians. It's interesting. I've often thought about changing the name because it sounds an arrogant name, doesn't it, in our kind of world, certainty. But Luther is talking about the happy certainty that comes through being adopted into the Father's love through Christ. So an assurance that brings joy, not because it rests on us, but because it rests on Christ.
That's
so
fantastic.
trying to live in light of that.
Yeah. And so some of the things that you're dealing with on the blog involve the culture and involve trends and things that are popular at the moment. And one of the things that's popular is FaceApp. When did you first come across it?
Yeah, so I guess it was was it midweek last week? Suddenly every other photo on my Facebook feed seemed to be a FaceApp photo. So people obviously using this app to kind of imagine using this kind of very clever artificial intelligence, what they would look like in kind of 20, 30, 40 years. And yeah, there was wasn't there this kind of craze. So loads of celebrities on Twitter kind of showing themselves. And I think the app's been going for a while, but suddenly, I don't know, the technology has just got much better and we all want to do it. Yeah, I think it used to be like you could switch genders and then that became controversial, and you could sort of switch races or at least skin tone and that became controversial. But now we've reached peak transgression. You can now look old. You can now actually face your mortality, which is the most transgressive thing you could possibly do. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, and I think I mean, I don't know how good it was before. I don't know how good the gender swaps were, but I think they know that they've nailed the technology stuff this time. Because the age stuff just looks so depressingly realistic. Just yeah. Well, that's it. That's what you notice, isn't it? You notice that actually that is me. That could well be me in 20 years. It's not just like a cartoon. No. Of what I look like. Because you're looking at your eyes, but everything is sagging around those eyes, and yeah, the wrinkles. Yeah, you're like, hello, old friend. I'll see you soon. Yeah. So when you did it for yourself, what were you first thinking as you were looking at that aged face? Okay, so here's the crazy thing: I haven't done it. What? I haven't done it for myself. Are you a conscientious objector? What's this? Well, the thing that's put me off is all the security thing. Obviously, there's been this whole thing about these Russian guys who are running this app. What are they going to do with your data? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, call me a hypocrite for not having done it. But I thought, yeah, I'm not going to. You're just going to do it the old-fashioned way. You're just going to wait. In this instant culture, you're going to wait. With little kids, it's amazing how quickly that feels like it is happening. So. yeah, I know. Yeah, just a few sleepless nights, and I already have aged 30 years anyway. In your excellent post about what the popularity of Facebook might be teaching us, you make a few points about what this trend is teaching us. Number one, you say, in a culture that idolizes youth, we are strangely fascinated with getting old. Are we really idolizing youth? I mean, I think in some sense we've got to say we are, compared to other times in life and history. We see youth everywhere, don't we? We see like young people highlighted as kind of our kind of ideals for. We don't kind of aspire to be old and wise. We aspire to stay beautiful and attractive. Maybe idolize. I think youth is bound up with, it's not just being young. It's perhaps some of the other stuff, just wanting that endless opportunity and self-definition as well. But I think, we've got to say that in some sense we think it's all about being young in our world today. So then why has FaceApp become so popular? If it's all about taking your selfie on Instagram 100 times and making sure you look as young as possible, what's going on? Well, I think I use the word fascination because I think we're fascinated with the fact that actually I'm not going to be young forever. I can't kind of control this youth and kind of make it last and keep drinking the elixir of life. And actually, this is my future. And there's something about just being hit with that as you kind of stare at yourself on the screen and go, okay, that is me. That makes us go, okay, yeah, this is where I'm headed. And I think, I wondered actually. In our kind of culture, we don't have many kind of resources to kind of deal with that. When you're being sold, it's all about being beautiful and being young and having endless opportunity. To kind of be confronted with the fact that I am creeping one step closer towards that is kind of quite challenging, and I don't know what to do with that. Yeah. We went onto the beach just today in Eastbourne, and we talked to a few different teenagers. Got them to do the FaceApp thing, and it was just what was fascinating with two of the girls
had already been like posing, I assume, Instagram photos like at the beach, and so they'd already wanted to be sort of picture perfect. But then when we showed them the app, both of those said they wanted to kill themselves. That if this image was going to be them in like 30 years, because neither of them looked much older than me, and they were sort of standing next to me and said, "Gosh, if I looked 40, I don't know how I'd cope." But yeah, a really confronting thing, and yet they loved doing it. And yeah, so it's this odd thing. We don't want to be face to face with our mortality, but we're kind of fascinated as well, which is interesting as well. Like I think there are so many shows on TV where you have to go into the morgue these days. It used to be you had to go into a strip joint in order to solve the case. Like for some reason, you had to somehow make this massive detour, and there was a very good reason why the police had to go to a strip joint to interview somebody in order to crack the case. But these days, you have to go to the morgue and you have to carve up a cadaver. And I just think that's really interesting. That what's transgressive now? Like everyone's seen naked bodies now. That's not transgressive. Like being face to face with your mortality. That's the really scary thing. And we kind of dare ourselves to do it in some ways. I wonder if that's some of what's going on.
Yeah, totally. And I guess it's particularly something about our image, isn't it? Something about our it's not just I'm gonna die, or the way we confront the mortality is this kind of this physical kind of image that I have, that I work so hard to filter and to hone at the gym or whatever, or just on my phone. That's the thing that is gonna is mortal and
wow. Yeah. It's like the same reason why we love to see New York destroyed in film. Like it's been destroyed like 10 times more than any other city, but it's like the pinnacle of human civilization. We want to see it in ashes because that's the horror story that jolts us. Maybe there's some of that going on. So point number one, in a culture that idolizes youth, we're strangely fascinated with getting old. Point number two, you say we'd all love to see into the future, but none of us can control it. How does FaceApp tap into that, do you think?
I think that's on an obvious level. Obviously, it's seeing ourselves get old, but it's also seeing a future, isn't it? And it's a kind of, again, I think we kind of love the idea of looking into the future, and yet actually so much of our culture at the moment is really present focused, and so there's a fascination with the future and predicting the future, but actually I think that's partly because we're so kind of fascinated by the present, and it's all about now. In lots of ways, we don't actually want to think about the future, and so again, this kind of brings kind of forward a reality that we've got to face, and says this is what's coming, and yet, again, it shows that I'm not in control of it. It shows that I'm, I am a mist that's here and is going to go, right? And that's kind of. It's weird, isn't it? It's a wake-up call.
Yeah. That's that line. Is it James chapter 1? Is that where it is? What is your life? You're a mist. It was funny. When I spoke to these teenagers on the beach, a few times I kind of said, "This is what you will look like in 30 years if you make it." And that was a bit rude of me in one sense. And one girl particularly kind of picked up, "What do you mean if I make it?" But there is a kind of a presumption in some sense as well. Like I will get to the year 2050, and this is what I will look like in the year 2050. Well, here's hoping.
Some of us will never reach old age.
Yeah.
And that's shows how out of control we are.
Right.
I think the present thing is interesting. So like one of the things I wrote in the article about, so Richard Borkham, kind of theologian guy, is kind of talks about how actually our culture, we kind of have this kind of, historically there's kind of been this narrative of progress, humanity's progressively getting better, but actually kind of at the moment, the progress is not so much kind of let's look to the future with loads of optimism. We're kind of a little bit of kind of distrustful of the future. That's kind of postmodernism really. And so what we've done is we've kind of created this endless present. That's what life is about. It's just about enjoying limitlessness now. That's what progress is, to be able to enjoy now. And again, this kind of says, no, it's not just about now. It's not just about today. Your kind of your body and its decay is a kind of reminder that endless present is just a big myth, isn't it?
Yeah, we are heading somewhere.
Yeah.
Fascinating. And then number 3, you say, for all that we're told otherwise, we are intrinsically embodied and finite creatures. Unpack that a bit for us.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, these kind of 3 things are all kind of, they all weave together, don't they? But I think the other thing that is particularly stark with this app is it is my face, and it is my face aging. It is my body, and my body is kind of going somewhere, and I can't escape the fact that I am my body. My body's not just something I have, that is me. And yet again, like the way we kind of are operating at the moment is we're kind of almost treating our bodies like they're just an instrument, just a tool, to kind of like, for us to do what we want to do and be the people we want to be. So self-definition, the self is the mind and the will and who I want to be, and the body is just my means to kind of get there. So actually, we might say, healthy living, healthy bodies, whatever, but actually the body is really just a kind of a tool to be the person you want to be.
Yeah.
Whereas this app says, actually, no, I am my body. My body is me, and my body is aging, and I'm not in control of that. And so it's just something about the creativeness of our bodies and how we are them. That is me. Just something, quite stark about that in the app. I think that is kind of making people go, okay, interesting. Yeah, there's something. What's kind of shocking, fascinating, interesting, shareable about this is, yikes, my body, me, is going to be like that.
Yes. And there's that sense when you look at the older version of yourself, and the version of myself from the Face app is literally like 104 years old. Other people get away with this sort of just slightly grayer, chiseled, look. And honestly, I look entirely decrepit, and I look like. Have you seen what they did to me?
The coif is still there, and that's
the coif is there. That's true. But the sagging, my goodness, it looks like it was a lot of sag. It looked like roadkill that had been going off for a few weeks, really. But this is destiny. It's inescapable. This is, unless I get hit by a bus, but this is what's coming. But when you look into the eyes of decrepit it kind of communicates. It does look like you're looking at an old friend, because it doesn't look like I'm just looking at me with a saggy face mask on. It feels like this face that I'm looking at will have weathered all sorts of not just environments but experiences, and the person that I'm looking at will have gone through all these different changes that not only are external but also internal, and so it really does kind of fight against the idea that our bodies are just a husk and that inside is the true eternal me. You look at that old person, you realize that my soul will age even as my body ages, and I will, when I am that age, all of me will age, not just this bag of protoplasm, that's on the exterior.
And it's interesting, like there's almost, I don't know if this is the right word, but like as people sharing these photos, it's almost like a bit of pride about this person who looks so experienced and wise. And I'm not saying that as a negative. It's almost like we're getting that actually there's something about aging and this that actually is something to kind of go, you've lived a good life, you've done well.
So maybe we'll start to see the elderly differently when we see them, in ourselves. We see ourselves in them. You can, or it's just a trend that will last about 36 hours, and it's already receding into the horizon.
Yeah, a fresh appreciation. I mean, maybe it's just that kind of, you've known someone, they've perhaps been a grandparent, and actually it's a reminder, isn't it, that they were once a you too. They were once a you, and
yes,
actually, what were they like? Pre wrinkles and sags.
Yes, it certainly humanized my dad, because I look like my dad in this shot. I look like a really, really decrepit version of my dad, but I look like my dad in this. And so it has given me a deeper empathy for him. Just kind of, you put yourself in the shoes of someone else, even though you're looking at yourself. And it shows how narcissistic we are, that we have to be looking at selfies before we can actually have empathy for other people. Yeah, we're a mess. We're a mess, Robin. So final thoughts on FaceApp. I mean, obviously these trends, they tend to hit in the summer, and they're just a flash in the pan, really. But what can we learn from them?
I mean, I think, you could say, or in a week's time, no one will be doing it. I think it's just interesting, isn't it? What kind of things catch on? What kind of things become the fads? And I reckon, personally, it's always worth thinking, well, it's become a fad for a reason. There must be something about it that is kind of engaging with our hearts and is making us, want to buy into that. It's not just that everyone else is doing it. There's something about it that has made everyone want to do it. So just worth asking those questions like, well, why is this appeal to us?
Yeah, and it's what your blog does really, really well, and what this article does in particular about this trend. And so people can check it out. How can people find you online, Robin?
Yeah, www.thathappycertainty.com.
Thathappycertainty.com. Very good, and I hope people go and check you out. Robin Ham, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure. It's great to talk.
Robin Ham, check him out. Thathappycertainty.com, a great blog, and he's always got some great stuff on there. He still blogs. He still does that blogging thing. I miss blogging.
Do you?
Those were the days.
It's a big commitment I found when I used to do it.
Yeah. Yours was good.
It takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, I got to the point where I was like, I don't feel I've got anything worthwhile to say anymore.
Never stopped me.
I never thought I had anything worthwhile.
Never stopped me. But yeah, no, great blog to check out. I loved those points that he was making, and so much of it is about facing your mortality, isn't it? Facing that there are parts of me that are dying already, and that's visible, and I don't like to face death, but facing aging is kind of a way of getting me used to, that sort of mortality thing. And it reminded me of that tombstone. There's a famous tombstone, I forget in which cemetery, but the inscription just says, once I was like you, and one day you will be like me. And so there's that dead person saying, once I was like you, I was young and free and alive, and one day you will be like me.
The thing that strikes me about the whole kind of aging process is that, I mean, there's two sides to it, aren't there, I suppose? So biblically, there is a kind of an age thing, about respect for elders and, the blessing of kind of a long life and growing old and so on. But equally, and I think it came out, maybe it was from something, maybe you mentioned it in the full-length video on the beach, I can't remember, but you either used the phrase or the word, like our decreation or our uncreation, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it strikes me that, aging, we can look at it, and so society, I suppose, it has two reactions. Either just wants to go, oh no, let's not look at this, or we kind of go, our wise old, the wise old man, wise old woman kind of figure. Mm-hmm. But if you think of, if you think of it as being an uncreation, like aging is in one sense a very bad thing. Yeah. And if you think about if you had a bit of fruit in your fruit bowl, that was actually on its way out and was just decaying away.
Is that what I look like to you? That's what we are to go. We're rotting. We're perishing.
Exactly. We are. That's the thing, isn't it? But it reminds me of sort of the blindness of humanity and how we're blinded by sin. That actually, even though we see that decay going on all around us, we can still kind of be completely ignorant of God.
Yes.
And the sin problem.
Yes. Yeah.
That death is coming. We still find a way to sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
Either not talk about it or sugarcoat it.
Right. And like the Bible kind of talks about, especially in the Psalms, it talks about, underneath your wrath I perish, speaking about God, or Psalm 11, God reveals his anger every day. And actually, part of the wrath of God is this perishing process that he's already handed us over to. And so what FaceApp does is just kind of turn up the intensity on the thing that we should be noticing in the mirror every day, but we don't because we get used to it. But it's just kind of turning up the temperature on that wrath that there is, that we are under judgment and therefore handed over to our perishing state.
It's a visible reminder of that death, isn't it? Of the spiritual death as well as the physical death. Right. But we're just very good at, not remembering the spiritual death side of it, and
not being challenged,
explaining away the physical side, and just say, well, this is natural and it's the way it is. And
right. we just find a different filter on Instagram to use, or you know, or
sure.
you use makeup or whatever, you know, to try and stop the aging process. And you know, it just really strikes me when I walk through Boots, which is the pharmacy. It's a chemist in the UK. And it's just wall-to-wall creams. That's all it is. Like, it's a shop full of thousands and thousands of creams that are roughly the same, I'm sure. Just marketed slightly differently.
Different package.
But when you get an anti-aging cream, you think,
Oh, man.
gosh, anti-aging, like you're going to reverse the arrow of time.
Yeah,
how are you going to do it?
big
Some
claim.
kind of cream.
The 7 signs of aging. Those kind of
Reverse
things.
the 7 signs of aging. It's like, yeah, no, it's a big thing, and FaceApp is waking us up to it. I actually came up with 10 things. Let's see if I can rattle through these 10 things. And really, they are 10 questions that FaceApp is asking us. So if you've got the image, Paul.
There it is.
Question number 1 that FaceApp asks us, can we learn to love aging? Can we learn to love this thing? Here comes this grey-haired person. This is what is happening to me. Can I learn to love that? And, you know, those people on the beach... Absolutely, the answer was no. We must halt the tide. But yeah, FaceApp.
I think it depends. Like, it's all to do with perspective, isn't it? I mean, if you really think this is it, I mean, that's just it. If this is one life, this is all you get. YOLO, all that stuff.
Right.
Then it's a horrible reminder that you're on the way out.
Yeah.
You can't stop it. You can run, but you can't hide. It's coming. Like
Another day closer to compost.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Can we learn to love it, though? And people are trying to, but we need a good story to tell in which the ending is a happily ever after. Then we might learn to love aging.
It's not the Lawrence Krauss kind of the future's terrible and there is no hope.
Yeah. In that story.
Oh, okay. No.
In that story. It's very hard to love aging then. Yeah. And then can we learn to love the aged is number 2. And it is interesting when you see yourself as an old person. And like for instance, my picture reminds me of my dad. And I have more empathy for my dad because, that's me looking like that. That's not this other person looking like that. Poor thing. I'm going to look like that too. And will we have more empathy for those who don't look Instagram beautiful, including the aged, and especially including the aged. Then number 3, can we learn to embrace our bodies? With all their creaks and their cracks and their imperfections, and it certainly makes us realize that we are bodily creatures. We're not just souls that are floating around, but we are embodied creatures that are finite and frail and perishing. Number 4, can we learn to embrace our mortality itself? Not just the aging process, but the fact that, you know, I mean, my FaceApp picture looks like I'm about 3 minutes from death. So
it was pretty severe, your one, man.
I've got a lot of laughter.
Have you tried it with a different photo?
No, they're all pretty bad.
Right.
They are all pretty bad. They make my hair incredibly grey.
What if you got a picture of you when you were a teenager? And try it? That's what I'd be interested to do. Yeah. Because all those ones, the kids, we did it on down the beach.
Yeah. I had this. I had my forehead that was kind of, you know, very wrinkly from about the age of 10.
Right. From the womb.
I was always doing the "Wahey" face. Don't do it, kids. Don't do it. This is what happens. But you're a hop, skip, and a jump from being dead on this app if you're me and you do it. But can we embrace our mortality? Again, there's that tombstone. I was once like you. One day you will be like me. That's what FaceApp is asking us. Question number 5 that FaceApp is asking us: can we face the world without filters? And there was that no makeup selfie craze a few years ago.
Yeah, remember that?
That people were sort of doing, and that was sort of about as far as people wanted to go. You're like, I won't put makeup on today, and I'll share myself. This is going way further than that, isn't it? And yet it's become this big trend. And so, you know, I find that encouraging in a world where you're always retaking the selfie and you're putting the filter on it. This is actually, okay, I'm gonna look as perishing as I possibly can. Will you still love me? So I like that instead of putting the mask on, this is really about dropping the mask and showing us not at our worst, because to be old is not to be bad, but certainly not as photogenic as you were. I don't know. I think it's quite nice that People are facing the world without filters. But then there's that question, number 6, can we be loved when we don't look our best?
I hope so.
I hope so.
Otherwise, it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if the other person doesn't want to love us, then you just need to show them their FaceApp picture and remind them that they too are decaying, you know. And it does put us in touch with our own frailties, and so that hopefully inspires a bit more empathy. It's like, oh gosh, you don't look as bad as me. No, you don't look as bad as me, and you know.
No, I look worse.
I totally win that one. But
Yeah, I'm going to let you have that. There's no contest, I'm afraid.
I have a lot of empathy for other people, given where things are heading for me. It is destiny. There's nothing I can do to avert it. Question number 7: can we empathise with those who are not Instagram beautiful? And I do think about those girls on the beach who were posing their Instagram shots, and then they wanted to kill themselves because they saw, you know, themselves as a 40-year-old. It was funny. There was one moment when I showed to the person, "Have you ever done FaceApp?" and I showed her a picture of mine, and she went, "Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!" No, I haven't done it yet.
Yeah. It's true. I was there.
That was my favourite moment.
Like, wow.
No, I haven't done it yet. And then the horror show.
Oh dear. Yeah.
But can we empathise with those who are not Instagram beautiful? And I can, because, you know.
But do you think we empathise with those who are Instagram beautiful?
Oh, maybe not.
Because I mean that's maybe another discussion, but because that is a very false world, isn't it? And I think we're generally aware. Maybe those of us who are a little bit older, I don't know. Maybe teenagers know as well, but maybe they get sucked into it more easily. I think we're generally aware, aren't we, that when you see those Instagram kind of followings and the way people are living their lives, you look at it and you just go, it looks great, but we know it's probably quite fake.
Yes.
You know, like, or it's a very shallow way of living your life. That my life is literally just taking photos of myself.
Yes.
And in the best possible clothes and poses and makeup and whatnot. Like,
it
looks quite empty.
It's not human.
No,
it's very plastic.
Yeah.
It's very.
So
plastic.
I don't know. Do we empathise more? Because there's been a few people who've done, and you know, for comedy value, they've taken someone's Instagram account and they've posed exactly the same shots, but in like their reality of what it looks like to be, you know, doing those shots.
Yes.
And they're generally hilarious because they're so unrealistic. The original shots are so unrealistic.
Yes.
But everybody likes though. You look at that and you laugh at it because you know that is the reality. Yeah. You know. Expectation, reality kind of shots. Yeah. So FaceApp is kind of humanizing us a lot. We're dropping the mask, and you know, can you love me without the pretense? And you know, hopefully the answer is still yes. Number 8, can we face an uncertain future? There are a number of times on the beach where I sort of said, you know, this is what you'll get to if you make it there, which is a bit naughty of me. And they were like, oh wow, like, it's not very optimistic. Not very optimistic. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it to my photo, because my photo looks like I'm 104. It's like Methuselah. But yeah, there are no guarantees. Well, that's the thing. Yes, you as you said, I think you said to one of them, you know, you get hit by a bus. God forbid, I said. I did say God forbid. But yeah. But that's true. You just don't know, do you? You don't know you've got those years in you. Yeah. It's easy to assume. Yeah. And therefore, number 9, can we hope in the face of decay and death? Because I do take solace from the fact that what's coming is my FaceApp aged picture. But then the Bible says our youth will be renewed. And so actually, you know, my future is the youngified version of me. You know, the future is a renewed youth, so that it's not a constant, you know, downhill into the compost pit, you know? Yeah. And it would be easy. I think again, it's all about your having an eternal perspective. Because if you have a perspective of an eternal, of a resurrection, yes, a physical resurrection with new bodies which are incorruptible, yes, actually, it does put a different perspective on how you live your life now and how you face things like aging. Yes, I mean, I know because when I go and do a few bits in care homes, or when I visited relatives in care homes, you know, a lot of people in who are at that level of at that stage of aging, you look at them and you think this is no quality of life at all, you know, and you think, and I think to myself, like, oh my goodness, like I would hate to be in this at the end of my life, like you're going out on that note, But actually, and if you think that is going out, you know, death is the end, and that is a terrible way to leave this life.
What a tragedy.
Yeah, absolutely tragic.
But is the best ahead or is the best behind them? You know.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It would depend. Those who are in Christ, you know.
Yeah.
I think the best is yet to go. And there's the story, isn't there, of the lady who wanted to be buried. You know, she would always get like she would go to the meal at the church every week, you know, and they'd have you know, the food, and then she'd always ask to keep the fork or whatever, and because the dessert was coming, and she would say the best is yet to come, you know. And then when she got buried, she wanted to be buried with the fork. Because the best is yet to come.
I like that.
And all that stuff.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. So
it's good. The best is yet to come. And, youthfulness is coming. The elixir of life is coming. We're going to get this. So, therefore, that aging thing is a bit of fun along the way.
Yeah. Hey, you remember when we were old?
Yeah. It'll totally be like that. And so we can pick up bumps and bruises and wrinkles and scars along the way, expending ourselves in the cause of Christ. And that's the 10th thing that I think it can teach us. You know, can we spend our lives well today? Can I earn that face, that craggy face that is weather beaten and has, you know, gone around the block a few thousand times? Can I earn that face? Can I enjoy weathering my face? Can I enjoy living out my life and expending my life, knowing that on the far side there's resurrection? That's a challenge to me, because, you know, I look at my FaceApp and I think, ooh, he's lived a lot. This desiccated old thing.
A few times over.
He's poured himself out. He really has. There's no juice left in that one. Squeezed out. And it makes me think, you know, between now and then, I want to squeeze out, pour out the rest of my life. My life. Can we spend our lives well today? 10 things that FaceApp asks us, and hopefully we've got some of the answers. Cool. Well, that'll do us for today. We are not having a livecast next week.
No.
You are going to be at New Wine.
Yes.
That's how you roll.
Yes.
And I'll be doing some things getting us ready for the Foundry next week, so you'll have to do without us next week, but we will keep on pumping out the content, Monday night video and the podcast, so do stay tuned for those things. If you do want to give towards speaklife.org.uk/foundry, we'd be really, really grateful, and you can still get that free gift of an ebook, Christ in All of Scripture. Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining us this week, and we'll see you in a fortnight.
Yeah, take care until then.
God bless.
Bye-bye.